Alright, I am back from Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I went and saw it with my parents because I thought, you know what, it would be a great family movie. Make it into a tradition, I said. Little did I know that, again, if you haven't seen my video on Rogue One, my preview, what I thought would happen, or how it's gonna go, or how I thought it would go. It's there. It's on the channel. You can check it out. But today, or rather right now, I will be talking about Rogue One, my review. The movie really didn't disappoint. Okay, I'm gonna be straight up honest with you right now. If I were to see today, now, if I were to see Rogue One and The Force Awakens, I remember one is an episode, the other is just a filler story, I would pick Rogue One. Now you might wonder why I'd pick Rogue One, but honestly, if you were to watch the movie yourself, I'm pretty sure you could figure it out. It's simply because the movie is the perfect balance between the prequels and the original movies. I guess the current times. I guess they're both prequels now because both of them take place in the, prior to the now that is happening. But the original, yeah, it is a perfect movie. Like, trust me when I say this, I would never lie. It's a perfect movie to bridge the gap, and it is that is the intent of it. But it is the perfect movie to bridge the gap between one and the other. Why do I think that? It's because of how the movie is shot. Gareth Edwards manages to balance out both what visually and thematically the prequels were, and also take those little bits from the original movies. He didn't take everything because there was a lot of cheesiness in the prequels, in the original movies compared to the prequels. Although the prequels, the first one had a lot of cheesiness, second one managed to avoid a little bit out of that, and the third one was complete seriousness. The third one reminds me of The Force Awakens, but better. But Rogue One was really surprising to me. Really surprised me. Like, honestly, I expected it to disappoint me, like The Force Awakens did, and also I expected it to disappoint me more due to the fact that I grew up with Kyle Katarn. I grew up with Jen Ors. Not fucking Jen Orso, or what was it? I don't know. I forgot. It doesn't matter. Cause yeah, okay, we're gonna keep it spoiler free here. But I think it's pretty obvious if you are a Star Wars fan and you know where this movie takes place, you pretty much know what to expect from it. Because, again, this movie wraps up real well, and it pretty much ends where Episode 4 begins, which is amazing. I honestly wanted that. I wanted them to do that because there was a lot of parts where it felt like, this actually reminds me of that, but it's not. But it seems like it's going that way. And it did. It did pretty much go to where Episode 4 starts, which is surprisingly fucking great. Like, this literally could be an Episode 4 and move the other ones to 5, 6, 7, and then the new one is an 8. It doesn't really feel like a separate story. It feels like it belongs there, just from the perspective of someone else. And I guess that's what it means to be a different, a different solo story on its own. And if I'm not mistaken, the next one should be a Han Solo one. Actually, the Obi-Wan might come afterwards. I am really excited about the Obi-Wan. The Han Solo one, not so much. But I guess that is also another movie where it's going to take place somewhere where the rebellion is happening, or actually beforehand. Yeah, that's gonna happen beforehand because he has to steal the ship. That's kind of the whole premise of, I guess, that movie will be. But also, I really like the fact that they managed to do something that, honestly, if you're a fan that watches the cartoons and whatever, you would like, okay, well, it makes sense if this happened and that happened, if that was involved in that. And usually, if you're just a moviegoer, like, well, they never do that. And it actually kind of did involve something that you would notice it's there, and the name calling of it, you'll know it's there. You know? As you know, Saul Guerrero is an actual person who was introduced in the Clone War animated series. And that was really great, although he felt nothing like the person who was in the thing. Although a little bit you can kind of grasp it from his accent, but the whole way he just acted and everything is just it didn't make any sense. But overall, the biggest impression I got was from Donnie Yen. He was fucking crazy. That guy did a phenomenal job. I think the duo, him and his partner, were just bloody amazing. Like, they were terrific. They were just, holy fucking mackerel. They were just so good. Like, you have no idea. Like, they should have been the leads, because the lead felt like a more balanced Rey. Because the thing with The Force Awakens was, they were very, like, I'm willing to admit that I love dark movies, right? But there is a balance between dark with no hope, where there's darkness but with hope. That's why I say Batman v Superman is a great movie, because it balances darkness with hope. The Force Awakens doesn't really do that, because it gives you, like, it says, it's hopeful here, but not really. You don't really feel the hope, the hope there. And it's very dark. Like, The Force Awakens is very, very dark, and it's just like it doesn't even belong, because there's always hope in any Star Wars movie. In Episode 3, which is super dark, there is always hope there. There's hope because of what happens around the end of the movie. And I feel like Rogue One manages to give you that hope. At the end, it again feels very hopeful, because it builds up to something. Now, like I said, I went and saw it with my parents, and I obviously would ask them what did they think of the movie, because they have seen the original trilogy in the cinema. And honestly, I was surprised a little bit about what my dad said, although he did notice it. Lack of Jedi. Now, I'm like, listen, man, it's not that they're really lacking Jedi, but it's actually happening when they're extinct. He's like, yeah, they were fighting, weren't they? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why isn't there any Jedi? I'm like, they all got extinct. He's like, that can't be it, because you can't just have a temple full of Jedi, they get killed, and there's none in the universe. Because in this movie, you visit a lot of planets, and none of them have. I guess they're in hiding, but there's really nothing to it. Like, zero Jedi, none. The only Jedi, or actually, the only thing close to a Jedi was Donnie Yen's character, which I still couldn't fucking remember his name. It was something, I don't know, the way they only like, you can hear his name like 5 times, I think, in the whole movie. That's like, holy shit. Yeah, my dad didn't like it that much. He preferred The Force Awakens more because of how well handled the action was, which I kind of don't agree, because this movie has a lot of action, but it has a very classic Star Wars action thing. Set piece, I guess it's kind of. Because if you look at it, of what happened, it would have been something pretty much to like when they were fighting the Death Star, pretty much. Like when they were fighting the Death Star, kind of like that, but kind of more. And kind of, I can't say things because I don't want to spoil them. That's why I'm kind of, can't find the words for it, because each word, like if I say one word, it's spoiled. But I think pretty much the movie itself is pretty obvious, the conclusion of it. But overall, I feel like it's a better movie than The Force Awakens. Story-wise, I guess is it better? Because it's pretty much just that. This is the movie, and The Force Awakens is like this, right? It's a bit of a difference there. But I guess for like a solo movie, I would say it's really good. It's really good. And I've seen the people who say that it's probably the best Star Wars movie of all time. Probably close to the original. And you know what? They're kind of right. I would put this movie in front. Fuck. It's really on point with the original trilogy. Like any movie, like, man, there were a lot of good moments in this movie. Like there were a lot of, like, it's not just like Star Wars fever and all that. I was going in being disappointed. So that is as least hype as you can go. But this movie was really good. Like, my number one. My number one is episode 3. Always will be episode 3. I doubt anything will be at episode 3. It was so essential. That movie was so essential. I don't know. It could come in at, like, Rogue One could come in at 2 or 3 or probably a solid 3 in my book. Like a solid 3 from first place to from all the other movies. Probably will take the 3rd spot. But if you haven't seen the movie, you should really go see it. Give it a chance. I know it's not, it isn't really promoted kind of like Star Wars, but it's a lot like it's very Star Wars-y. I'm surprised that I got a more Star Wars feeling from this movie than I did with The Force Awakens, which is crazy, because visually, I felt like the tone of it, like the way it was shot, I felt like this movie manages to top that. And I can't believe that I'm going to say that. I'm really surprised that Gareth Edwards beat J.J. Abrams at his own game, because Gareth Edwards isn't as big of a Star Wars fan as J.J. claims to be. And I'm really surprised in a positive way. I love the tie-ins. I love the mentions, the references, the Easter eggs of something related to episode 4, that was related to episode 3, that was to episode 5. Also, the animated series, multiple of those references, so many. I'm not gonna spoil any of them, but they're there, so you keep it a lookout, because there was one point where a name was mentioned. I'm like, that sounds so familiar. I have what the fuck is it? And I pull out my phone real quick, and I was like, oh, what? Who said something? And I'm like, holy fuck, what? Again, I didn't spoil anything, but that should get you hyped. But honestly, you should really go see the movie. This is my not so quick review. I didn't want to do it quick, but I didn't want to, I didn't want to make it too short. I want to make my point clear to say that I do think this movie is better than The Force Awakens, because when I got out of Force Awakens, you saw I was disappointed. I was so disappointed with the fucking ending of how they cock teased us. This one felt like a full story. It was a full story. And that's it. You don't need anything else. And I'm surprised, because I usually always want more in something, but I felt like this was perfect. This was just great. It was a great thing. You don't need to add more to it. It was just perfect the way it was. So I feel like this is the whole fucking thing that I had to say. If there's more, I'll probably add in the description, but I doubt it, because I pretty much just come out of the movie. I just got home. So thank you guys for watching. Go see the movie. I'll see you next time.